everybody. This is Saline County Hardliners coming at you again. I'm Keith Callum. Co-host is tonight is Kevin Bradshaw, and tonight we got Clint Lancaster with us, who's a well-known attorney here in Arkansas. Pretty much specializes in or has a lot to do with the election, not the best election attorney in the state, and he's done a lot of stuff around the nation on the elections and everything. So today we're going to talk about President Trump's new executive order for the preserving and protecting the integrity of American elections, which he signed on March 25th, I believe. So, Clint, how's it going today?
Well, it's going great, and thank you again for having me on. This is my second appearance on the Hardliners, and I love the show. But yes, it was a big move by President Trump, and it's not one that was unexpected. It's one that is a precursor to another move, but it has wide-ranging implications.
Yeah. How's that gonna Arkansas isn't it, the establishment has been fighting against any kind of change in our system, and right now we have you were on election commission in Saline County for a couple of years, and then I was a poll worker for 1 year. So I know we use the ExpressVote and the DS200 tabulator, which is that not what kind of this targets? He's talking about?
It absolutely targets it. Yeah, no, without a doubt. So a lot of people in the media have been focusing on the citizenship verification requirements of the executive order, and they've glossed over this part about the EAC, the Election Assistance Commission. So the way it works is the EAC creates basically rules or standards or guidelines, if you will, about what the machines must do. And so Trump has now said in this executive order that we need to change that. So currently the EAC guidelines, they allow for voting machines to have barcodes. You can print your vote in barcode. Right. And so, but Trump has said that barcodes for ES&S, and it's targeting, when you say barcodes, that really means ES&S. And when you say QR codes, quick response codes, that's targeting Dominion. So what Trump is saying is you can no longer have QR codes or barcodes. And that's a serious change in election policy.
Yeah, that's what Conrad Reynolds and Mike Lindell, they've been preaching about fighting against for 3 years now. We've been on this.
Yes, well, I'll make no bones about it. I represented Conrad Reynolds and AVII in a number of election-related lawsuits, one of which, so the Help America Vote Act is what Trump is part of what he's targeting here. The Help America Vote Act created the voting machines, and it came after the debacle of Florida in 2000 when we had the, quote, hanging chads. And so what Trump's trying, or what Hava tried to do, was modernize voting machines. But the problem is it over-modernized. So, it was like, hey, well, this is good, but it went too far. And so the Help America Vote Act says that a voter must be able to verify his or her ballot in a private and independent manner. But if you go to Arkansas 1ST, you read this news article that we put out, you can see barcodes on the ballot. It's those barcodes that the machine is reading. Now, I have said this often, and I know you probably agree, Keith, and I know Kevin does as well. I can't read barcode. I have not met a single human that can do it. I meet humans that can speak Latin, French, Italian, German, but none of them speak barcode. And so I think that's what we're trying to get away from, and that's what the thing is targeting. And it's important for Arkansas because our machines only have barcodes when they come out. That's what the machine's reading.
Mm-hmm. Now, Clint has written an article on this, which you can look up, Arkansas First News. It's on the website, isn't it?
It is. It's Arkansas1st.com. You can read the news. We were very fortunate that Mike Lindell retweeted the article. And so as of right now, just on his Twitter alone, I think we have 60,000 something views, around 65,000. Cool. So that's phenomenal. I mean, but It's also a statement about how Lindell feels about voting machines and Lindell's relationship with AVII.
How many states have our system? You may not know exactly, but like, for instance, I know you've been involved with Wisconsin a lot. Do they have the same voting machines that we have?
So yes and no. And I say yes and no because Wisconsin is a decentralized state for voting. So like in Arkansas, the Secretary of State picks the voting machines. In Wisconsin, there's counties, right? But there's not a single place in Wisconsin that's not covered by a city. So they have cities, townships. Every city clerk gets to pick the voting they're going to do. Like, so if you want ES&S, the clerk picks that. If you want Dominion, the clerk picks that. If you want paper ballots, the clerk picks that. And so you see this like smorgasbord of just different type of machines. What is unique about Wisconsin? And I remember doing Trump's recount in 2020 for Madison, and I'm grilling this city attorney. I'm like, the thing is connected to the internet. The tabulator's connected to the internet. He's like, well, of course it is, you idiot. And I'm like,
and here we're saying that's not connected to the internet. Don't tell them it's connected to the internet.
They say here in Arkansas there are none connected to the internet, but I
absolutely
don't. Yeah. You can't look to see.
I told the lie myself when I was a poll worker. I told the lie because at the time I didn't really. That's what they told me to say.
Well, you go through. What's funny is the Secretary of State and the Election Commission the State Board of Election Commission sets the training for county commissioners and poll workers. Right. And so it's the same thing you see in like liberal education. You get indoctrinated, right, on what they want you to say. Right.
Well, you don't know anything about it. You don't know anything.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, when I started, before I did that, I didn't know. I didn't even know there was a problem with it. I didn't really know anything about it till well, I talked to Conrad at one of our meetings back in the Republican committee meeting when he spoke. And that's the first I'd really heard of the potential problem of it.
Yeah.
And from there on out, at first I don't know about that. I don't think we have all those problems. Which I don't know that Arkansas has the problems, in my personal opinion, that Wisconsin has, or Pennsylvania, or let me say Arizona. But we could. They always say, well, we don't have any problems. But, what do you wait till you have a problem to change it? That's not a good idea.
Well, I'm going to quote my friend Robert Steinbuck. He and I used to co-host a radio show together. And he put it this way. Hey, you haven't had a car wreck yet, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't wear a seatbelt, right? That's kind of what it comes down to. It comes down to prevention. And I don't know. Nobody knows if we have the problems that Wisconsin and Georgia have because we can't really do a thorough investigation. But what I do know is an ounce of prevention is worth pounds of cure. So let's get it prevented and know it's prevented and know we're not going to have that. What's baffling to me is we're a, quote, red state, right? And as a red state, we should be leading the front on election integrity, but we're lagging so far behind because, Senator Kim Hammer thinks that the way it's configured is good. Well, I am very curious to see how Senator Kim Hammer and Cole Jester, the current Secretary of State, respond when they find out that their machines are about to lose their certification in 180 days.
And that's not that long. I mean, not in the scope of
6 months.
And that's before the next election, which is going to be in a year, or the first primary is going to be like almost right at a year, I think May or so.
Yeah. So the current machines that we have can be so this is in all candor, right? I'm not going to try to hide the balls or whip people into a frenzy, but the current machines we have, like the tabulators, you can have hand-marked paper ballots and they can actually do optical scans. So right now they're scanning those barcodes, but they can be reconfigured. And Pulaski County does this on election day. You get a paper ballot in Pulaski County and it's run through that tabulator for an optical scan. So I do envision that's where this may go. They may be able to reconfigure them to run no barcodes and optical scans on check boxes, but it's a change. It's a change in the right direction. And my understanding is that this is just the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're not happy. I don't know. Is Cole Jester our president, interim Secretary of State? I guess he is, isn't he? I don't know him personally. I've heard that he's not so much against the paper ballots and the getting rid, for the voter integrity situation we've been going through. But I'm not sure. I don't know him. He's a young man, I know. Do you know him? I mean, I don't.
I am so loved by Republican Party officials. It's like it's like they would rather hug a cactus. It's like, hey, would you rather deal with Clint Lancaster or be dragged through a cactus field naked? Well, how far do I have to be dragged? So it's kind of like, no, I don't know. I have invited Cole Jester to join us because every Wednesday, Arkansas WebST is live at the Capitol. So I sent him an email and I copied our anchor Candy Cox on it, and I haven't heard back from them. My guess is that they're not going to respond, but I would like to ask him, like, hey, because he went to Twitter and he says, oh, this executive order is like, red meat. It's manna from heaven, basically. Right. So,
well, I mean,
great.
I just can't believe that he's Secretary of State. I mean, he was appointed by the governor, correct?
He was appointed by the governor.
So, well, I mean, we know how she feels about it. I mean, she's made that pretty clear through, I don't know if she said it personally, but everybody underneath her, she's kind of given the marching orders to stay away from paper ballots, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming that.
Well, if you go look at what she says, she said recently that every time she sees Trump, he calls on her to make Arkansas be a paper ballot state. And she constantly says she's working on it. But
he said it right. He pointed her out though not long ago. I mean, talking about it.
And when I went to I had it. So I went to Mar-a-Lago. It's been a couple of years ago. But I got to have a meeting with Trump. And we talked about what we talked about. And it was me and AVII, Conrad Reynolds, John Bailey, Jan Bailey. We talked about the need for paper ballots and how we could make Arkansas like the front of that and how we could lead from the front. And ever since then, I mean, Sarah Sanders has been against it. And so, I mean, you can't tell me this woman, she can pull together everybody in the party that's elected at a convention or a committee meeting and say, hey, you're going to vote the way I vote, or I'm going to tell you to vote. And if you don't vote the way I tell you to vote, I'm going to find an opponent for you. And Huck Pack is going to fund that opponent. So that's why they all vote. So you're going to tell me that Governor Sanders can't get these people together and say, pass paper ballots or I'll primary you and fund them. It's only for her priorities. And she's made clear that paper ballots is not a priority.
We're going to have to start working on this pretty quick, aren't they?
Well, they better. Because
I don't know how long. I'm sure it takes, it's going to take some time to do whatever they got to do. I don't know if that is, but it sure has rained on their parade there of not going along with it, being against it,
Yeah, it has. And what's sad is that we could have had this in place a long time ago, back in 2023, but the legislators shot it down. So, we could very quickly find ourselves behind the power curve if we don't go and get on this. So I don't know. I'd love to hear what Secretary Jester has to say about the plan for moving this thing forward.
Have you heard of anything? Has there been any chatter already up? Or have you been, I don't know if you've been up to Capitol. I actually haven't this week, but been under the weather. But I wonder if they're already starting to chatter on it, about this executive order here, or if they're trying to ignore it, which they can't ignore it.
Yeah,
I mean, they could, but it's not, our machines aren't going to work.
Well, the only way they could ignore it is to say that we're not going to do that for state elections. So that means you would have to vote one type of ballot for a federal election and a different type of ballot for a state election. And historically, that's not how it's been done. You've always had one type of ballot. I think they'll make the changes. To answer your question, no, I have not heard any chatter, but part of that is because they're in their quote spring break like vacation.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
That's
so
right.
I did text the article to some senators and representatives whose numbers I have that still talk to me occasionally, and and I haven't got any responses from them. But I wanted to put it on the radar because it is something that they're going to have to deal with. This is, you can't get around this. The current voting machines, as they're configured, are not going to be certifiable for the next election.
So that's going to, well, probably next week when they get back, I'm sure you'll hear there's going to be something heard about it. I mean, they're actually, will they have to do they'll probably have to, let's see, I guess the election commission will have to get, state election commission will have to get involved. And then will they have to do a bill or something for that to change that? Or
no, because the Secretary of State and the election commission pick our voting machines, right? It's not a, you hear all this time, kind of like closed primaries. It takes a bill. It doesn't take a bill, right? It takes government action from like, these, I'm not going to say spineless like critters, but I mean, come on, you need to get out there and get some movement going. So no, the secretary and the state board can do this. They may say we can't do this, but that's not true. They can fix it. They can make these changes. ES&S has every single voting machine. Election systems and software has every single voting machine in Arkansas. I'm going to tell you, they make millions, like 20, 30, 40 million per election cycle. You think they're not going to let that go just because of an executive order? No, they're going to reprogram their machines to make it something compliant. And so
that's what I was going to ask. Is there a way they could just like switch it to where the ballots could be read or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. And so Pulaski County hand marks their ballots on election day, right? And they're fed into the DS200, which optically scans it. The answer I don't have is, does the DS200 capable of reading like computerized check marks? My guess is going to be, in this modern era of artificial intelligence and deep computing, that it can be programmed that way. But what I'm hearing is, there may be coming new orders or legislation prohibiting computers from being in our elections from being from China. Like it has to be American made, right? And there are no American made computers except for people who just do it from a hobby. So, but it's a national security issue that China is got the chips and the software that's running our stuff. That's a big concern.
Yeah, because they're running hot and heavy on us right now. They're running hot and heavy on us right now. China.
Well, the other part of that is even the ones that are actually being made at home, it's still made with Chinese parts.
I think you're going to see legislation come out. I don't have inside information on this. This is my personal prediction, but I think you will see legislation or executive orders come out that prohibit any foreign-made components from being in our election systems.
Makes all the sense in the world. It's not like we can't produce them here, I mean, we can. They don't want to do it.
It's part of Trump's tariff plan as well, right? So the tariffs are designed to bring back manufacturing into the United States that has left. I'll never forget reading this article. Barack Obama was at some dinner and he asked Steve Jobs, he said, "Hey, Steve, what would it take to get Apple to bring its manufacturing back to the United States?" And Steve Jobs said, "It's impossible." And the article went on to say how like Steve was unhappy with the glass on the iPhone, but they were all packaged and ready to ship. He thought it scratched too easily. So they got some DuPont glass or something at like 2 a.m. in China at that factory. They ring an alarm. It wakes up thousands of workers who get up without food, without sleep, unbox these things, change the glass, rebox them, and get paid like $1 a day. Those never coming back.
Yeah, it's crazy. But China,
slave labor.
Yeah, because China's really, they're doing a lot of crap people don't even know about. Right, they're really honest right now, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I have a family member who's done who he goes like, so if you like created a new wallet, right, and you wanted to sell this wallet on Amazon, he would go to China initially and find like a factory that could do it. And he would say that these factories, because he was a small fry, they were horrible. Like they would never meet Disney standards. But when Disney comes in, right, suddenly everybody is happy and they're fully fed and they're rested. He went to his manufacturing is now in India, which probably isn't very much better.
No, it's slave labor, just like China. No, the Indians, I've been in the Middle East, and they all go over there to make more money, but it's still slave labor either way. Poor folks, they get slave labor at home, they just make more money at it in the Middle East. That's all.
Well, I know we're talking about elections, but speaking of slave labor, have y'all seen this proposed constitutional amendment to end, quote, slavery in the Arkansas Department of Corrections?
No,
I have not.
Okay, so the Arkansas Constitution says slavery shall be outlawed in all of Arkansas except for those convicted of crimes and in prison.
we
right?
treat our prisoners
yeah.
better than anybody in the world.
Yeah, well, the Constitution says that too. So
yeah, well, so they want this Democrat, I guess, representative or senator wants to end that. He says that we should outlaw slavery, including in prisons, so that prisoners either get paid, number one, for the labor they do, or their labor contributes to their good time, right? So that would abolish slavery. Now, it costs, last time I checked, $37,000 a year, okay, to house one inmate.
Yeah,
Just
I've heard that.
Now,
3 hots and a cot.
Yeah. But if you notice, most of our prisons are built on old plantations down in like Tucker,
Right.
All that stuff. And so what the plan was, and it is these inmates have to go out and grow crops, cotton, food, you name it. They grow it, right? Cattle, chickens, all right? They do that labor at no cost to the state as part of their punishment. But that food that they grow feeds them. The Arkansas Department of Corrections has zero, next
Supposed to be
zero.
self-sufficient. Supposed to be self-sufficient. Yeah.
And, the problem that they had like 20 years ago was they were making too much, right? And they were like, we're not going to sell it because now we're profiting off inmate labor. But the goal was to make it the prison self-sufficient. The inmates, so if you don't work in an Arkansas prison, if you refuse to work, you don't get any good time. You don't get any privileges to get Yeah, well, I agree, right? I mean, part of one of the 4 reasons why we put people in prison, you have deterrence, you have punishment. Hey, wait, punishment, right?
Yeah.
The rehabilitation, so punishment is an issue, and you should be working. But the proposal, I think it's by Love, would cause Arkansas to have to pay the inmates for the labor, for the food they grow to feed themselves. You're talking about an exponential cost for inmate labor. And this comes from Louisiana and the so-called atrocities that came from Angola prison by making them work on a plantation there for the same reason. I talked to Representative Jimmy Gasway about this, and I think this thing is going nowhere fast, but it's comical that.
Is that a Democratic bill?
It is.
Okay. I figured that.
So it's going to cost more and they're going to get out faster. That sounds about right, right?
Yeah. I mean, they get good. I mean, they got good living conditions really compared to.
They get a phone now. They get a phone in the cells with them.
They get TVs, right?
Nice TVs.
Okay, I got a funny thing. So they actually, one of the biggest pastimes in prisons is playing Dungeons and Dragons. They're not hurting in there. No. I'm not gonna lie.
A friend of mine, a guy who actually went to the NFR several times as a bull rider, Denny Flynn, his wife Lynn, her dad was the warden at Huntsville, Texas, right? And I mean, you're talking about no air conditioning, no heat, right? And Texas, there's nothing wrong with this, right? So I think we're a little bit too generous. Arkansas has a very storied history with its prison system
and it's been rough in the past. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was actually been declared unconstitutional and put into receivership at one point.
Tucker,
So
where they're burying bodies at Tucker and stuff years and years and years ago and stuff.
There's a movie with
Brubaker,
yeah,
where he
and it
probably a true
details that.
story where he goes in and tries to find out all what's going on, and he finds out it's been like shocking guys and putting them and killing them and just burying them and stuff.
So they had the Tucker telephone is what they called it, and what the Tucker telephone was. I don't know if you remember these old crank phones that they used to have where you had to crank it. So
I wasn't living then, but I remember I've seen them.
I've seen them on movies, right? Probably like a Michael Landon movie. But they would turn and electrify that and attach it to genitalia or nipples, and that was their punishment, right? They would call home, right? Yeah. Well, and Mary Parker, who's a PhD or was a PhD at UALR, she took me into Tucker Max and Tucker for a tour, and I got to see where the Tucker telephone was, and she pointed out that corporal punishment is not illegal. You can still whip inmates, but you have to whip them equally, is what she said.
Like your kids, you whip them, whip them equally.
I mean, you have to whip them. You have to whip the white ones just like you do the colored ones. I mean, but I get that. I'm mad. Apparently, they don't do any corporal punishment. It helps avoid the lawsuits.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I can see. But we used to have some rough, the old guys on horseback with the mirrored sunglasses. Cool Hand Luke days. You remember Cool Hand Luke? You see Cool Hand Luke? Yeah.
Nobody can.
What we have here is a way to communicate.
Southern hardcore prisons, where they take you in the back, beat you half to death.
Yep.
Act up, and not that that's right, but there's a happy medium in there somewhere. I mean, and all that stuff about prisoners' rights and stuff. Some of that, I mean, some of it's valid, but some of it's just overboard.
Well, you have a right not to be treated like in such a way that it's unconstitutional. That's where your rights end, right? But it's not a fluff bath, right? I remember I represented a guy in Tucker Max who was convicted of capital murder. His mother loved him and wanted me to try to get him out of prison. But he had a special pillow that he got when he was on exchange in Washington, and the officers came in to search his pillow and opened it. And he literally wanted me to file a federal lawsuit because he didn't get the pillow he wanted. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm paid by the hour at your mother's expense. Are you sure? And he's like, yes, absolutely. And I ended up,
of course,
I ended up firing him. And the judge, it was old Judge Moody that let me off, who's the current Judge Moody's dad. He used to be a federal judge, and there's a rule that you can't have certain family members at the same time. But I put in, the guy said, he said, have you got the emails from the advocacy groups? I'm like, yeah. He's like, what'd you do with them? I was like, I put them in spam. Right? And he goes, when I see you, Mr. Lancaster, I'm going to put you in spam. And this is a guy convicted of capital murder for beating a guy to death with a hammer. So I was out of that one.
Oh boy, yeah.
It's always unsettling when you show up at prison. They're like, can we have contact? Can this be like, we get rid of these bars? I'm like, no, we're good.
No. Just in case, yeah. But our prison system, I don't know. I haven't been in a prison in a long. I haven't been to prison, but I have been in one to visit someone. I'm not going to say who. Family member.
Yeah,
we all got one probably.
I took a field trip once years ago. That's about it.
I have actually, what I'm really excited to say is I've been into a number of prisons, and I'm also excited to say that I always get to leave when I'm ready to go. Right. That's a big,
and it makes you don't want to be there.
Yeah. The one that is probably the scariest to me is Cummins down on Southeast Arkansas. Yep. It's got a lot of inmates, a lot of movement. And it's not a low or medium security prison. It's like, man, these people, that's like what you see on like TV kind of thing. They're living it.
Where's death row at?
I think that's at Cummins too. It's at the Supermax.
Hey, while we're talking about that, just made me think of something real quick before we go. Did I not read somewhere about them trying to get back catch up on their death sentences here in Arkansas?
Yes.
What if the governor's saying something about they got a new put them down a different kind of way or something? Or you know about that?
I do know about that. So I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. I think it's called 100 Different Ways to Die in the West, right? And it's kind of a comedy parody, but right. So yes, the Arkansas is now, and this is what I think of that movie when I think of this new bill. It's actually been signed. I think it's an act now. We're now a nitrogen state. So the execution method, nitrogen is one of those. So they will literally put you into a mask, tie you down, and pump nitrogen instead of oxygen.
Not nitrous oxide, but nitrogen.
Not nitrogen. Not no. Maybe they should give them a little bit, you know.
I looked at beforehand, yeah. But anyway,
yeah, and so Alabama, I think, has executed 2 of these people with nitrogen, and they've both been successful. And so Arkansas has become a nitrogen state. So, you know, hopefully we'll be clearing death row a little bit faster now.
Well, these guys on death row right now that have been there for years, they're probably going, oh boy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can't be a happy life in death row. I mean, you're basically.
No, I mean, I would probably be ready to go.
Yeah, I think I would too.
You're not going to get out. There's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. And you're in solitary confignment for like 23 hours a day, right? You don't get to interact. You don't get to do anything.
Why did they stop? Why did they stop the way they were doing it?
Well, okay, so they had the only approved method was a type of chemical combination that would first render you to feel no pain, and then second, basically like you euthanize an animal, so the pharmacist across the country said, and the pharmacy company said, we're not going to allow our medicine to be used that way. And so when Arkansas got their hands on a batch, not like maybe 10 years ago, whenever Hutchinson was in office, and he started signing some death warrants, and there were lawsuits. We don't agree that our medicine can be used this way. And so you basically cannot get the components to do lethal injection. And I don't understand that, right? Because I got a compounding pharmacy right over here at Westside in Benton. Why is it that Trent Hollingsworth can't mix us up some of this concoction, you know? But I don't know.
I bet he knows how.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. But now we'll just be juicing them with nitrogen, which you can get at any gas shop.
Yeah, I don't know how the death goes on that. I don't know the scientific, like what happens to you, and I guess you just can't breathe. It's just like putting you on Mars. I guess you can't breathe it. Huh?
Well, so you see this a little bit or something similar for free divers that go down really deep.
Right.
And then so apparently, and I have never
get the bends.
Not the bends, but when you run out of oxygen, you actually have to start breathing water. They say there is a period of euphoria where you feel really good and really happy, and then you die. So I mean, my understanding from what I read is that
pretty much. I just looked it up. So pretty much you're dying by hypoxia, just like you're going too high up in the atmosphere. Same thing. You just slowly go into, fade away slowly.
Well, some of them are getting a better death than they gave somebody else. I guarantee you that.
Better than they deserve.
Yeah,
I'm all for the firing squad.
I'm kind of the old do what you did to them type thing,
Clint Eastwood
that's a little cheap.
He once starred in a famous movie called Hang 'em High, and that's what I.
Yeah.
And it might be a little cheaper. Recycle
back then, in Fort Smith, Arkansas, we have a very famous landmark for the hanging judge, Isaac.
Oh yeah, have you ever been through there? That's a real interesting. Yeah. It's real interesting.
It is, and so if you go on Paramount Plus, there's a show.
Judge Parker.
Do what?
Judge Parker.
Judge Isaac Parker.
Mm-hmm.
But Bass Reeves was a U.S. deputy marshal out of there, and they made a show about it, so you can kind of get some modern flavor to it. But ironically,
one of the rare black marshals back then. One of the rare. That was a rarity. I mean,
and they say that he's really the guy the Lone Ranger was modeled after.
Really?
And so but Parker, when he took the bench there, his agreement was he would sentence people from Indian territory and there would be no appeal. And so very unconstitutional by modern standards, but he hung them I think he hung thousands. I mean, he was the hanging judge.
Yeah, I've been in that little jail they put him in. You probably have too if you visited I think it's the Marshals Museum, maybe.
Well, I think it is now. It used to be the old historic courthouse.
Yeah, but it's very interesting if you like history. If somebody likes history, especially Western history, it is really neat. And it talks about Rooster Cogburn, like there wasn't a real Rooster Cogburn, but it talks about how he was taken from several different marshals at that time period, which was in the same time period as Bass Reeves.
Well, and I really like the show Bass Reeves up until the end. I think the end was a little bit over traumatized, but how he came up and what he had to do. I mean, I took my girls up to Pea Ridge recently within the last 3 months.
I hadn't been there. I want to go there. Is that good?
It's good. Yeah, they actually have a road you can drive and you stop at all these stations. But when you watch Bass Reeves, it starts out with a battle at Pea Ridge where he was forced to fight.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so you go see this history, right? And you see it, that kind of history so well done by Taylor Sheridan. The end sucks. It sucks, but it's an ending.
I actually thought when they started that Bass Reeves, I actually thought they were making the character in the, I know we're getting off, but that's fine.
We're way off in the rabbit holes.
1883.
Yeah.
With the black dude that was with Sam Elliott, Shay, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was that character they were making a separate show on as well at first.
Well, while we're on tangents and rabbit holes, right, and we're talking about entertainment, I have it on good authority that Sam Elliott is coming to Landman season 2.
Ooh.
Have y'all seen Landman?
Oh yeah,
I have not.
Yeah.
What's it about?
I'm a Landman fan.
Oh man, this is Billy Bob Thornton's greatest work in my opinion. I know he got the Oscar for Sling Blade, but if he doesn't get the Emmy for his role as Tommy Norton, and I actually think Jerry Jones, who has like a cameo appearance, should get Best Supporting Actor. I mean, if you haven't seen this, Kevin, you got to see it, man. My wife loves this. I love it. It's about a Texas landman in the Permian Basin who works for an oil company. His job is to get mineral rights and keep things functioning. But Billy Bob Thornton is outstanding.
Oh, you're
his
talking
middle
about that
name
one
is
scene with the windmills. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the only scene I've seen.
Terry
It's
said
awesome.
he likes to use that F word, doesn't he? I said, yeah, Billy Bob likes that word.
Well, it's definitely R-rated, but man, he's just the way
he's a great actor.
It's got Ali Lauder in it from Friday Night Lights back in the day, and she's brilliant as well. I love the whole thing. So
hey, we almost got I thought we almost got the dude on our show here. I don't know if you saw the one we had Tim Crawley on about the racetrack, about the racing bill that Long had that nobody liked. I don't remember
seeing that. But
it was about closing down. Basically, he was going to close down your racetracks, auto and motorcycle and everything. Anyway, we had Tim Crawley on because he's a big time racer. I don't know if you know who he is. He's raced for years around here, and he has a '67 Speedway down in Texarkana. And he really lobbied himself personally, who's not involved in politics, against that bill because it was basically going to ruin his livelihood,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of other people. And he was talking about how much money racing brings in the state. But anyway, long story short, what's the dude's name? The little skinny guy in it? Cooper.
Yeah, he's from Arkansas too.
He's from Arkansas. Yeah, he's from somewhere around, I think, I'm going to say Russellville or somewhere. But he was supposed to be on our show with him because he was like up in the air about this bill. And he didn't get on. I thought, dang, man, that'd been cool.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to go back and watch that, guys, on the chat? You guys need to go back and watch that episode. It was a good episode.
Yeah, it was. Tim Crawley, he did well. Yeah, and I think it helped them stomp that bill out because it was I like Wayne Long's bills lots of times, but this one, I don't know, it must have been something personal because it was something that should have been done on the county level. And he was trying to just shut down. Basically, people could sue you if you had too much noise coming out of there, civil suits. It would have been a big mess.
Yeah. No, I question some of Long's legislation. It reminds me, my uncle was an attorney in Saline County for years, a guy named John F. Lovell Jr. And somebody wanted to open a gun range down the road from Uncle John, like within 100 feet. but he had the lobbying prowess to go to the quorum court and get them to pass a law that you could not open a gun range unless it was approved by the quorum court. And so that's really where it should be. I tell people my cousins are the Landers family. They love to tell you that we're cousins by marriage. But Lance Landers up in Batesville, his kids are big into racing, and he owns.
Oh, Lance Landers, yeah.
He owns all the Mark Martin dealerships now.
Yeah.
So racing's a big deal for the Landers.
Oh, in Arkansas, it wouldn't have done well,
Yeah,
No.
yeah,
and that's one of those, I call it. That's one of those election killers.
yes.
It's kind of like when they wanted to bring the ordinance up for which I know we probably have animal problems, but when you start telling these rural people what they're going to do and this, you got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
It's like taking their guns, taking their dogs. I mean,
Well, I haven't met a single Arkansan who likes being told what to do. Perhaps
No.
it's something to do with our climate.
especially
Have you
these
talked to my
places I got
wife?
in my district.
You know mine.
But let's see, what else are we going to talk about here?
Whatever you want to talk about. I mean,
I think that covered the. It's going to be interesting to watch this voting bill in the next 6 months. See what they do.
It is. They're going to have to do something, and they're going to have to do something quick. And you couple
They got
that
till
in-
November or October or whatever.
Yeah, you couple that in with a lot of the direct legislation that's out there. I said this on Candy's show last Wednesday. I have never seen a session that has produced as much unconstitutional legislation as this. Right? I mean,
Well, I don't know what they're up to. What?
well, it's Dan Sullivan of all people had a question to some woman was in committee saying the people don't want this. We don't want this. And he was like, did the people vote for you? And she's like, no, I didn't run. Well,
That's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah. And so
That's
you know
such a
what I'm
stupid.
talking about. They voted for me, therefore I have their voice. I am their voice. Yeah, that's how it works. Welcome to America.
That tells it right there. That just tells such a story right there.
It does.
I mean, it's like, I know better. And I remember, I remember when Kim Hammer spoke at our committee back when all this started, back when the legislature came out with
back when we had a committee.
the committee, and everybody was, on him, and they're saying, well, he kept saying it was a small minority of people that wanted paper ballots. Well, this is horse crap. Out of 1,200 voters, I knocked on probably 800 to 900 doors, and I might have had one. I don't care. I might have had a few. I don't care either way, and maybe one or two that said they liked the machines. The rest of them said we have problems. So
what I don't understand is how are we a free country, right? But I can't choose how I'm going to vote, right? I think, and I tried to get the legislature in 2023 to pass this bill, and it died in committee. But you can
make it optional.
You can pick a paper ballot if you want to. I always go back to Anthony Fauci during COVID. You want to wear a mask? Wear a mask.
Right.
You don't want to wear a mask? Don't wear a mask. You want to wear two masks? I mean, come on.
There's still people running around with masks right now. I don't know. I saw a guy coming out of the store the other day. He has a mask and he has it over his mouth, nose is open. And I just so much want to go up to the guy. What the hell is that doing you? It can't be comfortable. I hate them. They can't be comfortable.
No. Well, the only benefit to a mask for me is I am an incredibly more attractive person when half of my face is covered. Right? I mean, I look a lot better, but look, if you want to wear a mask, wear a freaking mask. I don't care.
Wear a full mask. Yeah.
I was in the height of COVID. We were in Atlanta, Georgia, I think it's the Burkhead neighborhood or whatever, Buckhead, whatever. And I get on the elevator.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I get on the elevator. It's a Republican lawyers convention, and we just been outside wrapping up the evening. And I'm on there without a mask, and this guy is like, "Hey, do you have a mask?" And I'm like, "Yes, I have a mask." He's like, "Do you know the governor has ordered everyone to wear a mask?" I'm like, "I do know that. Yes." He goes, "Is it just that you don't care?" I was like, "You're absolutely right, sir. I don't care."
Perfect. he led perfect to you. He led in just the right thing you wanted to hear.
Yeah.
You could have. Please ask me that. Please say that to me so I
He
can
could
tell
not
you.
have been more angry. And ironically, just when I said that, the door to my floor opened and I get to walk out. And
He was
turns to
probably
look-
speechless.
well, he
How
was like, he
dare
was.
you?
Well, it's funny, but look, if you want to wear a mask, I was at the airport this morning. There was one of the nice ladies wearing a mask. I don't care, right?
No,
I don't care.
that's their business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like, hold your breath.
I tell you, during the epidemic or whatever, during the main part of the COVID, we went to. I'll tell you where it was. We went to Applebee's one day, and I mean, this is when it was really going on, because Arkansas wasn't as bad. Benton, not Little Rock, Benton was not as bad as a lot of places, as far as making you do stuff. But I walked in, I didn't have a mask. None of us had a mask. And everybody else in there had a mask. And if you've been to Applebee's, you walk in, there's where you check in, and then there's tables. Like, he was going to sit us down, like, I don't know, 6 feet away at a table, at a booth. And she said, but you can't come in without a mask. I said, but I'm taking the mask off when I sit down, correct? Yes, you can take it. You can take it when you get a drink and you sit down, you can take your mask off. Just in time to slobber everything all over. You can take your mask off and, spit your food everywhere. And that's cool,
Yeah.
But she said, no, we can't. And I really got pissed. I normally don't make too much of a scene at somewhere like that. But I said, that is freaking stupid. I said, that is stupid. So here I am. I went like this to walk to my table. I thought, are you happy now? And again, I think we talked about this earlier. It wasn't the gal's fault. She's just doing what she's told, So I really didn't. I thought about that. I thought, I don't need it.
That was the problem with a lot of things. People were just doing what they were told. That's why I kept on going.
Absolutely, Yep. But
that whole
it's and they say you don't believe in science. Well, you don't either, because none of this is scientific. What you're talking about.
Well, here's one thing I know that science will help you with. If you're afraid of breathing in COVID virus, hold your freaking breath, right? Because if you are breathing, you're not breathing it in.
Yeah.
So this is what I was told about the. We're gonna get off the weeds with that. Never mind.
Well, we're pretty far out so far, but well, guys, I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna end this up. And hey, everybody, everybody's watching. Tune in to Arkansas First News, and Clint is the author of the Kitty Barf series that is very interesting. You're still doing that, right? You're still in.
I am. The original kitty died. So I literally, no, seriously, it died.
I know. I remember. I heard about that.
I woke up and the kitty was dead in the bed, and I ran to the gym, the home gym we have, and I told Jim the kitty was dead, and it was a horrible morning. But my kids are good kids, and they wanted new kitties, so I told them, because they're so good, you can each have your own kitty. So now I got 2 kitties. I got Pete and Repeat, and so.
I got 2 cats too, and I didn't want either of them. One of them is named Pickles because I hate pickles and I hate cats.
I'm the kind of guy. The first cat, I just called him El Gato, which is Spanish for the cat. But I had to go buy kitty litter today. It's the first time in my life I have bought kitty litter to clean up something other than an oil spill. So I'm kind of traumatized. I don't know what to think. There's 2.
Well, I got one too. It stays outside, but anyway, that's another story. My son, I inherited from him. But anyway, everybody needs to catch Clint's little series there. It's real interesting, and probably most people that watch this have seen them. And he's got a lot of other good articles too, like the one we were just talking about that's on there about the executive order from Trump on the voting integrity. And but y'all tune in to Arkansas First. We're on Arkansas First. We're part of it. Clint's a major contributor, and also his spouse is the boss. And
very eloquently put.
Yes, his boss is the boss, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. So we'll tune in with us next week, and you can catch us and our email is Saline Hardliners at gmail.com if you want to connect with us there. And Clint, thanks for coming. It's been a pleasure. Been fun, like always.
Yes.
And nothing wrong with having a little fun with the agony of politics of the 21st century,
Well, we even got to talk entertainment with Paramount
Right.
Plus, and it's serious.
Right.
So I think Kevin's going to go subscribe and watch Landman. He won't be disappointed.
Oh no,
I will.
Oh, yeah.
I will.
I'm ready for the next. I'm ready for the next.
Yeah. That opening scene, as we end, that opening scene, Kevin, you're going to love when he's negotiating with the cartel. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, I'm going to turn this off. And then it was like, whoa, that's awesome. So, well, guys, thanks for having me.
All right.
And y'all have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the weather, and we'll catch y'all soon.
You too.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Saline County's out.